and welcome back to Kim Reads. We're going to read the Bearenstain Bears lend a helping hand. Some cubs are helpful, some cubs are not. Show them the way and they may take a shot. Mama and Papa Bear were like most parents. They wanted the best for their cubs. Brother and sister were like most cubs. They wanted the best for themselves, and not only the best, but the biggest and most as well. The best place in front of the TV, the biggest piece of cake, and the most jelly beans. One night when the squabbling cubs were sound asleep, Mama lay awake at night. She sighed a big sigh. Was that a sigh? Asked Papa, turning over, or just the wind whistling through the leaves of our tree house? We've got to find a way of teaching a brother and sister to mend their selfish ways, she said. Do you have any suggestions? But was Papa's only suggestion. He had fallen asleep, leaving Mama alone with her thoughts. I've got to find a way, thought Mama, to teach them it's just as important to help others as it is to help themselves. But how? Lecturing hasn't worked, nagging hasn't worked, and having Papa talk to them seems to do more harm than good. As Mama lay there, she learned thought about cubs learn. Cubs learn by doing. They learn by walking. They learn to run by running. They learn to climb by climbing. That's the answer, thought Mama. The cubs will learn to help others by helping others. But questions of who, when, and went unanswered as she drifted off to sleep. As it happened, those questions would soon be answered. The who turned out to be Miz McGrizz, the elderly widow who lived just down the road. The when turned out to be the very next day, and the where turned out to be at the checkout line at the supermarket. Hello, Miz McGrizz, said Mama as she emptied her cart at the checkout counter.
Hello yourself, said Miz McGrizz. How are you and yours?
Just fine, said Mama. Some of mine are over there looking at the videos. Cubs, say hello to our neighbor. Hi, Miz McGrizz, said brother and sister. The cubs were a little nervous when Miz McGrizz, she was really old, even older than Gramps and Gran, and kind of bent over, and there was a crookedy cane she used when she walked. But the real reason they were nervous about her was when their ball had gone to her yard and knocked over some tulips. They had never apologized. Just when Mama and the cubs were loading groceries in the car, Miz McGrizz came out of the supermarket pushing out her little collapsible shopping cart. Where are you going? Asked Mama.
To the bus stop, she said. The bus goes right by my house.
So does our car, said Mama. Cubs, help Miz McGrizz into the car and put her things in the trunk.
That's very kind, said Miz McGrizz as sister helped her in the car. My goodness, she added,
as brother put her things in the trunk.
It must be wonderful to have such helpful cubs.
Yes, it is, said Mama. She started the car most of the time.
It certainly would be wonderful for me,
said Miz McGrizz. Oh, said Mama. When the cubs realized they were being talked about, they leaned forward to hear better.
Yes, said Miz McGrizz. I need a little help with something.
By now, brother and sister were leaning so far that the seatbelts were pulling at them. Thought Mama. Maybe it was the chance I've been looking for. The chance for brother and sister to learn to help others.
I wonder, said Miz McGrizz, that this is just the type of thought. But I wonder if perhaps brother and sister could help me find to clean up my attic. It's an awful mess. I'd pay them, of course. Brother and sister looked at each other. They didn't say anything, but their expressions spoke volumes. Help Miz McGrizz clean her attic? What about soccer? What about listening to music with Lizzie? What about playing video games with Cousin Fred? Well, I think that's a wonderful idea, said Mama. Cubs, how does next Saturday sound? She pulled the car in close to Miz McGrizz's house. Next Saturday, said the cubs. Then it's a deal, said Mama. Hop to it, cubs. Let's help Miz McGrizz get her things in the house.
As the Cubs helped, they saw next Saturday slipping away in a dusty haze of miserable, boring old attic. When they were about to head home, Mama turned to Miz McGrizz and said, "As for paying brother and sister," she said, "they wouldn't think of accepting money for being so nice to a neighbor." When the Cubs complained to Papa about Miz McGrizz's attic, turned out he was more enthusiastic about the idea than Mama was. "Cubs, I'm proud of you. I think it's a grand of you to help poor old Miz McGrizz clean her attic." "But, Papa, we didn't exactly volunteer," said Brother in a small voice. "Nevertheless," said Papa, "it's a wonderful thing you're doing. I think you may find it interesting. You never know what you might find in an old lady's attic."
"Careful now," said Miss McGrizz. "These steps are rather rickety."
It was Saturday morning, and the Cubs were following her up to the attic. When they reached the top of the steps, Brother and sister just stared for a moment.
"Well, here we are," said Miss McGrizz.
They were indeed. A strange feeling came over the Cubs as they looked at the piles of old things. It was as if they had walked into the middle of her whole life. There was a dressmaker's dummy with half a dress pinned to it. There were old magazines. There was an amazing ship in a bottle. "Wow," said Brother. "It has all the rigging."
"That was my late husband's hobby,"
exclaimed Miss McGrizz. "What's this?" asked Sister.
"A radio, of course," Miss McGrizz said.
"A radio," said Sister. "It looks like a little cathedral." "Do you think it still plays?" asked Brother.
"Let's plug it in and find out."
Brother plugged it in and turned it on. Music came pouring out of the strange old radio. Rock music. As the Cubs stood listening to the old rock music coming out of the radio that looked like a cathedral, they had the funniest feeling how time works. They went back into the past and forward in the future, but now it was the present day and they had work to do. Papa was right. Miz McGrizz's attic was kind of interesting. Miz McGrizz organized two really big boxes. One was marked throwaways and the other one was marked keepers. "You know, Sir Brother, we're going to have a system if we're going to get this job done." Miz McGrizz agreed. Here's what they did. They sat Miz McGrizz in a comfy old chair and brought her things for her to decide about. Then she looked at each thing and said, "Keep it or chuck it." Now, as the morning went on, the Cubs began to worry. It seemed that to Brother and Sister that she was chucking out some pretty interesting things. They were beginning to get an idea. It was just before lunch when the Cubs found some really interesting things. "What's this, Miz McGrizz?" asked Sister. "It looks like a really old Barbie doll. A really, really old Barbie doll." "That's what it is," she says. "It's the original Barbie I had when I was a cub." And Brother found something in a box of old papers. It was a baseball card. "I can hardly believe my eyes," he says. "This looks like a Babe Bruin rookie card." "That's probably what it is." "That's probably what it is," said Miss McGrizz. "My late husband was a big Babe Bruin fan." After lunch in the attic, the Cubs told her idea. "There's a lot of great stuff in here," said Brother. "You shouldn't throw it away." "What should I do with it?" she asked. "Have a garage sale," said Sister. "Goodness," said old Miss McGrizz. "I don't know about that. I don't have a garage." "You have a yard, don't you?" said Brother. "You could have a yard sale." And that's exactly what happened. Mom and Papa pitched in and helped. The very next Saturday, Miz McGrizz had one of the most successful yard sales ever held in the neighborhood. Miz McGrizz appreciated the Cubs' help very much and wanted to pay them something. But Mama wouldn't hear of it. She did allow them to accept gifts, however. Miz McGrizz gave Sister the original Barbie doll that she had when she was a cub, and she gave Brother the Babe Bruin rookie card. "Wow," said Sister. "Double wow," said Brother. And that's the end of that story. Thanks for listening.